Hey guys, this is AC. Welcome to my house. Thanks for tuning in to another Friday episode where we're going to be talking about crypto, NFTs, and the larger Web3 space. As always, well, not as always, but as always, welcomed into the studio here, Roddy Knowles. Thanks for joining us. It's always great to have you get your opinion. I know you like to nerd out on NFTs just like I do. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Almost always welcome is probably more accurate, but I'll take it.
Yeah, almost always welcome.
So we'll see how it goes today. Welcome for now, and yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. We'll revisit that statement. I may take back my words on that. Cool. Well, yeah, I say this every Friday. There's always a lot of activity, a lot of updates, a lot of news. Anything particular top of mind that you want to bring to our audience?
Yeah, a couple of things. Maybe we'll start with the sort of phishing, hack, scam, exploit, whatever that happened a week or so ago. I think is worth talking about a little bit. So maybe I can give a little bit of background on what that was, and we can have a conversation about it if that works as a place to start.
Yeah, let's do it.
Great. So I'm trying to remember the exact date, but it was on a weekend. I think it was a Friday night or Saturday night. And I'm looking on Twitter and I see everyone sort of blowing up about like an issue or an exploit in an OpenSea contract. And so without going and like nerding out too much, there was a big migration that was happening to a new contract that they were going to use for all of the NFT sales on the platform. And a couple days before this was supposed to go live, I think about a dozen or so people got hacked. Essentially, their NFTs got stolen or lifted from their wallet. And the initial thought was that there was an issue with the OpenSea contract and that it was allowing people, some malicious actor to be taking people's NFTs from their wallets. And so everyone was freaking out for a little bit, trying to figure out like, what's the issue? What's the cause of it? Is it OpenSea? Is it a contract? What do we need to do? Do we need to revoke access to our NFTs? And so like I've listened to this Twitter space for like an hour with a bunch of really smart people in the space trying to figure out, what do we actually do? The short story is it doesn't, by all accounts, doesn't appear to actually be an issue with the OpenSea contract. It was a complicated phishing attack. And what happened is a group of people sent out an email that looked like OpenSea. And OpenSea had been sending out emails saying, hey, if you have active listings, you have to migrate before this new contract comes out. I think it was around the end of the month.
Real quick. Let's do some quick definitions real quick. So OpenSea is sort of the eBay, Amazon of it, where you buy NFTs, buy and sell. It's a trading platform and exchange, right?
Yep.
A contract. How do you define a contract?
So a smart contract is something that you enter into when you're buying an NFT or listing an NFT. So if you've ever gone through this process, it asks you to confirm a bunch of like nonsense string of characters and stuff you probably can't understand. That's a really important thing to do. This is another thing that maybe we can talk about.
It's like the code within the NFT or within the exchange.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
It allows certain things. If you look at it, like if I as like a normal non-developer human look at it, like I can make sense out of some of the things, but not all of them. But when you click that button, it's not just a one-time thing. It's not like making, a transfer from your bank account or sending an email or something like that. It just has like a one-time thing. It enables it can enable a contract. That contract can be just for like the exchange of one NFT. Right. But what happened in this case is a contract got enabled that allowed someone to extract all NFTs. So it gave sort of permission to do everything within someone's wallet, which was obviously that was the challenge here. And so this happened. It was essentially, a phishing scam. Someone clicked on this email, thought it was from OpenSea, and what they did is enabled access to all of their NFTs, and a bunch were stolen. I don't remember how many millions of dollars were stolen. It was significant, big name NFTs, Bored Apes, Azukis, I think Doodles, Cool Cats, a bunch of like big name NFTs were stolen. And so there are a few, I think, lessons here. One is to be really careful about links that you click. So that's the first thing. It's often good advice if you're getting an email from someone who, especially something related to a smart contract or NFTs, to actually type in that email address and not click on the link directly, because that can ultimately open you up to some exploits. And also just to be really, really careful what you're actually signing and getting into. So that's a harder thing to do for a lot of people, but it's something that you need to be mindful of in terms of knowing what you're actually getting into as much as possible. And another thing that came out of this that I think was interesting is, and honestly, I wasn't thinking about this, or like if you are participating in digital asset ecosystem and you're doing things like transfer, you're wrapping coins, or you are making transfers on a decentralized exchange, or you are purchasing NFTs, you're oftentimes opening up the smart contract that I mentioned. And that's something that can happen or exist in perpetuity. So you're leaving some of these contracts open. It's good hygiene to clean those things up. So there's a couple ways to do that. I won't go through all the details, but you can, just Google this, but you can do it through Etherscan, which is a little bit complicated, but it's possible. There's also a site called revoke.cash, which is you go there, you click on the button in the top right-hand corner, and you connect your wallet, and it'll show you all of the open contracts that you have connected to your wallet. So again, if you've use Sushi Swap, for example, you may have an open contract there. It'll show you what NFTs that you have that you've given access to, and so you want to periodically evaluate that and understand sort of what you're exposed to.
Okay, so walk me through this. You're saying, are you recommending everyone? Okay, because what I don't want to do is freak people out, scare people. Don't ever buy an NFT. But what we do is tell you all the horror stories. We bring you the highlights of the horror stories, right? Just so that you're aware of it. It's, I guess, the advice that I would maybe give is allocate whatever you're comfortable losing into this space until you learn the space. Maybe it's $200. You basically need a minimum of $200 to get started, more or less. But let's say up to $500, and then you're going to play with buying something, trading something, you're trying to maybe list something on OpenSea. Because I think when you're new, obviously you don't know what's to trust and what not to trust. So walk me through this again. Are you recommending everyone do this periodically, every time they buy a new NFT, just to see what are open contracts? Basically, open means active contracts. Something could happen. Someone could trigger an event that would either sell or delete or transfer your open contract NFT, right?
Yep. So I intentionally say these things not to scare people, but to make people cautious. I don't want to scare people away from entering the NFT market and playing around, for sure. But I think it is important to understand how early we still are and how convoluted some of this stuff is. And so it is important to go into it with a bit of not necessarily apprehension, but at least caution, and not go into it blindly. It's easy to go in and just start pushing buttons and accepting a bunch of different contracts without thinking it. So I do think it is important. So not trying to scare people off, but I am trying to tell people to be careful. For me, I will probably go in and look every few months to go and see what contracts that I have open. Like I checked on revoke.cash. I looked at and said, okay, I've given access to OpenSea to list these NFTs that I own. Everything looks legit. I had a look. I'm not going to revoke any of those accesses because I feel comfortable doing, with everything that I have open currently. So no worries. I didn't make any changes to what I'm doing. But it did make me wonder, did I sign a contract, or do I have something open that I wasn't aware of? And in my case, I wasn't. So it was fine. I just think it's good hygiene to check up on that every couple months. And also it's good to know that, let's say there was a significant issue or an exploit or something like that, the way that you can revoke that access. So that's just an important thing for people to understand. So when you enter into a smart contract, oftentimes there is a way to get out of it in this case. So that's just an important thing for people to understand.
Okay, so I'm looking for the website. You said revoke.cash, C-A-C-H.
Revoke.cash. Yep, C-A-S-H, like money.
Oh, like money. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Not the other cash. Yeah.
Okay, got it. We're not financial advisors. Obviously, take this all with a grain of salt. Do your own research, and only invest money that you were willing to lose. Okay, so OpenSea, now has some competitors, right? OpenSea was the first, it was the biggest, it's got the largest amount of money, and then they're running into some problems. And now we see other sort of exchanges for buying and selling NFTs. Any ones that you've used or recognize as being trustworthy? Anything along those lines?
Yeah, I'll give a little bit of just OpenSea background and something about competition too. So OpenSea was the first one to market. I think you called them eBay or Amazon NFTs. I think that's fair. Just like Amazon or eBay, it doesn't mean there aren't competitors. There certainly are competitors, but OpenSea was the first to market and definitely the biggest player. There's been a lot of critique of OpenSea. I think they've done a lot of cool things. It's like the first mover in the space, really the biggest player. But they definitely have issues, and the site's going down all the time. And there have been some, privacy related issues and other things. And so not only because of that, but other competitors have come on the market too. So there are a few. So Looksrare is probably the biggest competitor, and Looksrare has a similar framework as OpenSea does. So if you're familiar with OpenSea, you'll be able to go into the site. I think sort of makes sense. So that there are a few details that are different. I don't know if I can go into the details here, but it's pretty straightforward in terms of how to use it. One of the things that Looksrare does, and they're not the only one that's doing this, is they're trying to give something back to people who are participating in their economy on the site. So if you list and sell an NFT, if you purchase an NFT, I don't know the exact mechanics of how it works. I've listed something, but I've never sold. I bought a few things on Looksrare, but you get essentially rewards, and you get those rewards that are paid back in Looks tokens, which have a monetary value as well. So they're sort of giving you a percentage of the transaction, essentially, and a little bit of a kickback for transactions that you make, whereas OpenSea is keeping, all those royalties just for themselves. So that's one of the places where they're trying to differentiate. Also, you'll see the user experience is a little bit different, but they're trying to approach this, which what they would say is more of like a Web3 mindset, and give something back to the people and incentivize them for in the version of their own token for actually using that site.
I mean, what one of the features I love about Looksrare is, what I learned on OpenSea is if you have any amount of decent holdings or collections or things that get excited, you just constantly get these bots that are offering lowball offers on every single thing in your collection. And so I'll get 10, 20 emails a day with just random lowball offers. You just know there are bots because I get like 10 at a time.
You can turn those off, right?
Yeah, I know, but I also want to know, because maybe I will have a.
I did the same thing. I struggled, and then I got too many bot offers, and so I just turned it off and I ignored them.
But what I love about Looksrare is what it is. There's a investing strategy called buying the floor, and so basically, if you like a project, and you just want to get involved, you don't care so much what the NFT looks like, you can kind of go on OpenSea and say, wait a minute, there's 3 that are all, the floor, which would be the lowest priced in the collection that's for sale. Let's say they're all 1 ETH, and there's 3 of them selling for 1 ETH. So the floor is 1 ETH, and which is about $3,000. And then the 4th cheapest one is like 1.3 ETH. So someone will sweep the floor, come in, buy all 3 of the lowest priced ones, and now the new floor is 1.3. And what they've basically done in their mind is, well, now I can resell these at 1.3 because that's the floor now, because I swept the floor. Now we've got a new floor, and hopefully there's a buyer. But what and then on the other side, there's people who are hold and they want to sell, and they'll just list it at whatever the floor price is, or slightly below the floor price. So they'll be the first one to sell whenever someone comes in and tries to sweep the floor. So what I like about Looksrare, to avoid all those bots, is basically you can just say, put in, I will buy any ones in this collection at 1 ETH. And then I can just log in and say, there's just an open offer for anyone that's basically open-ended. At any time, I can go in and just click a button and accept someone's offer for 1 ETH. I don't have to list it. And so it avoids those bots that are just trying to offer lowball everything. And there's just all these open offers for any of them in the collection, which I thought that's the beauty of competition. Like, you get cool features like that.
Totally. And we won't go down this rabbit hole. They do that because everything is based off of wrapped ETH too. So everything is you're not making an ETH transactions. It allows you to do things like place bids you're essentially having that ETH that's locked up. And if a bid gets accepted, then it can automatically go forward. Whereas if you're not bidding on something like an OpenSea, if you're just making, if you're just buying something, it's actually ETH and not wrapped ETH. But the average user doesn't need to understand all that, but it's just more important to understand the mechanics of how that works. And I think that
to be fair, I did try to accept one on Looksrare, and it says, sorry, this person no longer has this much money in their wallet, so it couldn't go.
So it didn't cancel the bid on time. Okay, so nice idea.
Yeah,
nice idea.
Right.
But
there's room for improvement. Yeah.
There's some other websites out there. One is NFTX. I think it's nftx.io. That allows you to do a similar thing where you can, it essentially has a collection of whatever NFTs that you're looking at, and they're all set at the same price. It's essentially like the floor price, which generally pretty closely mirrors what the floor price would be on OpenSea. You just click on a random one if you want. We can look at it. So like all these are going to be the same price. Your screen's a little small, I can't see it, but whatever that price is next to Cool Cats there.
8.47 ETH.
Okay, cool. So all you got to do, like all these are the same price. Like these are defined as floor Cool Cats. You can go in, click that, buy now. There's a little bit of a fee, and you can do that. It also it's a way for, like, if you have something that you want to sell and you need liquidity, and like I'm a seller, so I can put my NFT onto there. I can immediately get money back at that floor price minus some sort of fee. Maybe it's 5 to 10%. I'm not sure exactly what it is. And then I can come back in later, and I can, or if I have that NFT locked up and I don't end up selling it, or it doesn't get transacted, I can get it back, or I can swap it out for one of those other NFTs that's actually still sitting there. So that's another way for people to purchase NFTs, or also for people to sell things without impacting the floor on one of those, like a site like OpenSea or Looksrare. So it's gotten a little bit of traction. Not every collection is available. A lot of the bigger name ones are. There's some other sort of cool stuff with that site that maybe won't go into now, but that's one option as well.
Let's talk about also another one. Have you done Rarible? I keep confusing Looksrare with Rarible, but it seems like that's also another exchange out there.
I've checked out Rarible. I've never actually used it though, so I can't really speak to it too much. I also checked out X2Y2. Did you check out X2Y2?
Oh, X2Y2, no.
Yeah, so X2Y2 just popped up on the scene a couple weeks ago, and similar format to the others, a little bit similar to Looksrare as far as I could tell. I only spent 45 minutes maybe looking around, where they are rewarding you with, I think, their token or something else to participate in. You can see Maury's trending at the top. That participate in the site. So I haven't checked out the details there. There were also rumors when this phishing scheme happened that this is the same time that X2Y2 popped up on the scene, and a lot of people were providing access there. So maybe it was an X2Y2 issue. So they got a little bit of maybe potentially bad press there, but I don't think they had anything to do with it at all. Just the timing was bad. So they're a new player on the scene too. So we're going to see more and more competition, which is an interesting thing. I think ultimately it's good. It's good for NFTs. So if you're looking for an NFT, I guess maybe the moral of the story here is to shop around a little bit. You're going to find different prices and different floors across sites. And we aren't yet here, but it's going to happen soon. There will be aggregators who will pull together NFT listings across sites. So we're still early. That hasn't happened, but that's coming next. It's just like when you can think about back in the day, like buying airfare online, you could go to Delta, you could go to American, whatever, and then all of a sudden Orbitz and Expedia and those companies popped up, which are just aggregating things. So that's going to happen with NFTs too. It's just a matter of time. So the ecosystem is going to get fragmented before it starts to consolidate in a way like that.
Well, so on X2Y2, CryptoMories was trending here, and I know CryptoMories has had a crazy week this week. Let's talk about that a little bit. So we both own CryptoMories, and from what I understand, there's this original artist who made artwork like this maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It's a skull. Honestly, I didn't realize until this whole thing that CryptoMories were supposed to be skulls. I thought they were like ghosts. But anyway, a skull, and these are
apparently you're not paying very close attention.
Yeah, that's how good the art is. And so This is the original art by a guy named Sabet, who had an X and a heart. It's a skull that had no bottom teeth, with an X as the whole eye hole on one side and a heart as a eye hole on the other side. So he's saying he did was a DCMA copyright claim against CryptoMories, saying I'm the original person who made artwork that looks similar to this. And to be fair, this is a CryptoMorie, and on the shirt that has a similar thing like this. On some of them, not all of them. You know, they wear a little hoodie that has, this guy actually looks very similar to that with a top hat. This one's just wearing a hoodie. So there are quite few examples. And so that Sabet or Sabet, I think he's French. So Sabet, I'll sound like I'm sophisticated by pronouncing it that way.
You're not fooling anybody.
Yeah, I could try. And so what happened is, I guess OpenSea looked into it and they said, you know what, this original artist might have a claim. And they delisted every single CryptoMorie, which had a floor of 2 ETH, roughly, right? Close to 2 ETH.
It was a little bit less than right around then. It was probably closer to, it was right around 1, maybe a little bit lower. But okay, right after this happened, it dropped. I think the floor was like 0.55. I almost bought one.
Right. So yeah. So this guy filed a claim saying, "Wait a minute, this guy stole my artwork," which has always been something we've talked about. Like, you know, there's a lot of ripping off in this space. Drop the so basically you couldn't buy and sell them on OpenSea anymore. They just took them all off. This was 10,000 CryptoMories. The cheapest one was 1 ETH, which is $3,300, and the most expensive one was probably 20 ETH. Just all of a sudden, these people didn't have they didn't have it. Like, it's in their wallet, but it's not on OpenSea anymore.
Yeah, just be clear about that. No one ever lost anything. Like, it still exists. It was just the ability to transact on OpenSea disappeared.
Yes, yeah. So you could go to Looksrare or Rarible or X2Y2 and resell it on another platform. But the power of the Twitter mob went through this entire artist's work and found that he had copied that design from someone else, and they found it on like some EDM poster from like 5 years before he started using it. And so and then the mob went after all of his artwork and said, well, this is from a Marvel, and it got pretty ugly. And it went pretty fingers. And from what I can understand is now he's dropped his copyright claim, and he's communicated to OpenSea, I no longer think they're using my trademark, and you can please relist it. I don't think it's been relisted yet, but this is sort of crazy stuff that's happening. So someone who wants to make money off this, that's obviously, we want to protect the artist. Whoever originally made this design should get the money. That's not what I'm debating. But let's say you hold these things. This is sort of shows the wild, wild west, right? You could go in now and say, well, let's buy it while it's cheap before it gets relisted at OpenSea, or hey, you see these opportunities, you could spend thousands of dollars on something, and then all of a sudden it goes to zero when there's a copyright claim. You can't sell it anywhere. One of my CryptoMories got checked as on OpenSea prior to all this as being suspicious, like sold and bought suspiciously. So I couldn't do anything with it on OpenSea. I have no idea what that suspicion is. I mean, I bought it on OpenSea. Maybe the person I bought it from stole it from someone else, and that's why it's been flagged. Or the person, in the blockchain 4 down, maybe that person did something illegal or wrong, or a phishing technique, or stole someone's wallet. And so obviously I didn't know any of this, and it wasn't suspicious when I bought it. But now I'm sort of screwed. I'm sort of handcuffed, at least on OpenSea. So if I ever want to sell it, I have to go to one of these other sites to try to sell it. And those other sites don't get as much traffic. So they typically sell for lower price than they would on OpenSea, that it gets the most eyeballs. So I say this constantly. It's risky. It's a risky business, a risky investment. But like all things, more risk, more reward.
The Mories thing.
Yeah. Oops.
You said OpenSea looked into this. I actually have a strong opinion here. I mean, I don't have any inside information, but I think they did a pretty shitty job handling it. I think rather than looking into it, they just took someone immediately made a claim, and they like took a rash step of removing it from the website. And sort of, it was like, no innocent until proven guilty. It was more guilty until proven innocent. And I think that was a shitty way to handle things. You had a lot of people who were, well known in the community who spoke out against OpenSea for doing this. I don't think it was the right thing to do. Obviously, wasn't privy to all the back and forth that the CryptoMories team was having with the artists who made these claims, but I follow their Twitter and Discord, and ultimately they ended up working it out. The story, was that it was no intentional ripping off of anything, but with a lot of art, and especially with NFTs, there is a lot of borrowing that goes on and using things as inspiration, whatever. So without getting into the details, I don't know what happened there. I think ultimately they agreed to do some sort of a collaboration together, and there's a sort of handshake, and the creator of CryptoMories, E1, ultimately came to some sort of agreement, and they're like, yeah, cool, we're friends now. We're gonna work this thing out. I will say, like you mentioned, the community sort of came after them like a mob. Like, I don't think it was really like that. There were some negative things that were said, but I will say, actually, I think the community did a good job of staying really positive through the whole thing, and ultimately trying to sort of make amends. And I think that happened on both sides. And so I actually see the CryptoMories community welcoming Sabet or Sabet, whatever it is, in after this. And I think ultimately it's a positive thing long term. So he sort of said that he handled this in a way that he wouldn't have done again, that he wished he wouldn't have handled it this way, but he did. Let's move on. Let's all be friends and just be positive. So I think ultimately, it was a negative thing, but I think that it's ultimately going to be a positive. I think maybe this is an example of not a good example of how to handle things from the OpenSea perspective, but in terms of artists working things out, I think that actually this is a positive example.
Right. And to me, I look at it from the entrepreneur side, as someone who likes to creating businesses. I mean, like OpenSea, it's a bunch of computer programmers, right? That build this tech startup, and I'm sure they have no one on staff that's like an expert on copyright claims and trademark and artwork, right? And so,
well, I hope they do.
Well, maybe now they're learning they probably have to have the certain specialized lawyers and stuff. But that's what's crazy about this new technology is you have new problems that you're not even aware of. That a CEO probably never thought that this was something that they would have to be the judge and jury on, right? And so they'll make mistakes, and they'll learn from those mistakes, and hopefully not repeat those mistakes. But you can't really get mad at anyone, And I guess mob wasn't the right word, but obviously I was upset that while something I have of value now is no longer of value, so maybe it was never worth value to begin with. But if your life savings, or you're counting on selling this NFT to down payment on a house, or to whatever, buy a new car, and all of a sudden it went to zero, of course you're gonna have some angry people on Twitter and Discord trying to fight, regardless if they have the full picture. Yeah.
The point here is, there are some negative things that prove to be short term and work themselves out pretty quickly, but you could sell it. You still could, because there are alternatives, because ultimately, we are moving towards something that is increasingly more decentralized and not centralized. So yes, OpenSea is the major place where people go, but you could immediately go to Looksrare. And what happened? Right. It was like the number one trending NFT on Looksrare because everyone went there. Was it exactly the same? No. Were there negative consequences? Yes, but you still have options to sell these things. So I think that those risks are mitigated more over time with more competition and more alternatives to on where to transact.
Yeah. I mean, there's what's great. Competition is always good. You don't want to have a monopoly, especially in this space. Are there any new projects that are exciting you, or that you're looking into, or because before I ask you that, I gotta say I've cooled a little bit on NFTs. I don't know if it's I just felt like the product, the quality, like everyone was trying to do a gold rush. The quality really dropped off a cliff. And if you weren't into some of those original blue chip ones, you might have missed the wave. And so I'm waiting for a new wave to kind of come up, I'm really choosy right now, but
I am too.
Yeah.
There's so much. I mean, just to be honest, I'm really sick of these 10,000 PFP projects. There's so many, and my Twitter is just jam packed full of people shilling these projects, 90% of which are garbage. And so there's a lot being thrown out there right now that I think doesn't really have value. And I think at some point that's going to drag the market down. I don't know how soon that's going to be, but I do think it's going to have a negative impact just because there's just so much going on and so much to keep up with. I think ultimately, I think that's going to have a negative impact on the market. It's just a matter of when. That doesn't mean I'm not buying some things. It doesn't mean I'm not holding the things that I like. It's just becoming increasingly difficult, especially people that are new to the market, understanding what's legitimate, what has value, what has potential, rather than just saying, hey, here's a new thing to mint. Because I've been following several projects when they minted, because I got on the whitelist, or just following them. I was like, do I actually mint this thing?
Right.
And what's happened, not universally, but usually, it's like, oh, there's hype, because what a whitelist is, for those who don't know, I can't remember if you talked about that. It's like you get on this list and you can mint it before everybody else.
Waiting list. You get like the first shot
like
at minting.
Yeah, like a pre-sale for concert tickets. You can think about it that way. So
Yeah.
people will go in and they'll mint these NFTs, and before they actually reveal and show themselves, you don't know what you're actually going to get, the price will go up. There's a little bit of FOMO because people missed out. Then there's a reveal. And then after the reveal, then it sort of like tanks and drops off again. So there's a hype, and then people see it and they're like, okay, cool. Not into this anymore, at least for right now. And the price sort of goes down. So that's been happening a lot, which is a signal to me that there's a lot of froth in the market, and a lot of, just sort of hype, but not a lot of substance. Again, not universally, but it's a bit troubling when I look around, to be honest.
I recently was trying to gauge, have I made money in NFTs or have I lost money? And I've probably bought into 40 different collections and projects. And when I buy into something, at least my mentality, and it's not for everyone, is that typically I don't want to just buy one of something. I want to buy multiples in that community. And then some strategies, that way, if it does take off, I can sell one or two and then hold on to two. Because obviously I bought in the beginning because I liked it. There's something I liked about it. And so I didn't want to just hold on for dear life and never sell and cash in. So I wanted to buy multiple ones. So that being said, I think of about 40 collections I bought into. I think maybe 3-4 have done really well for me, and 20 of them are about the same, and then the rest is just basically waste of time and waste of breath and waste of money. And I probably have broken even. So this is a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of research. It's also been a lot of fun. It's a roller coaster, right? You get those highs and lows, those dopamine hits, and when you get a home run, it makes up for all those strikeouts. So that's
just a matter of knowing what are your objectives. Are objectives to go and fund your kids' college education? I don't know. Maybe not the best. Maybe if you really know what you're doing, if you're in it to really get invested in some projects, also to to understand the space, to make investments here and there and sort of see what works out. That's a reasonable investment strategy, knowing there's high upside, there's high downside, there's a lot of volatility. So just understanding that going in, if you come into it with the right mindset, and again, money that you don't need to pay the bills next month or in the next few months, then okay.
Yeah. I mean, my objective for the first 10 was to learn what the hell an NFT was. And so right. I was just looking back, I was terrible choices, obviously, right? Because I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew that going in. And I was like, okay, I'm going to spend a few $1,000s on this, but this is like taking a crash course on a new education. People spend thousands of dollars all the time on internet courses. And so I was just going to do it in real life and spend my own money. And I did not have any expectations of returns. I just had expectations of education, which I got, which affected me in the next, 35 purchases. But those first 5, probably the first 10, no idea what the hell I was doing, but it was fun. It was exciting. And I think I make better decisions now.
So I can maybe give an example of, something that I did recently, which I would not recommend that people do. So I've been on the show before and talked about what you should do when you're evaluating a project. You should do all of these things. All right. So I don't always follow my own advice. So I don't know. Did you follow the Atari, that GFT drop that they did.
I didn't follow it, but I saw the photos of the JPEGs and the whatever, the NFTs. Very nostalgic. They looked cool. I'm like, oh, I remember those days in my basement playing those Atari 2600, things. But that's as far as I got into it.
All right. So here's what I did. I looked at it and I saw some people talking about it. I saw some people that I follow that they had these things in their wallet. I saw the price has sort of gone up and down a little bit. I looked into it a little bit. I said, okay, there's some utility. There's, access to something in Sandbox. There's going to be game competitions. There's some other utility down the road. And I thought, okay, cool. Atari is a big brand. I like Atari. I grew up with Atari. Certainly they're going to actually do this right. So I just aped in and bought one pre-reveal. I think it was 0.17 or 0.19 ETH or something like that. And it got revealed. And honestly, it's the dumbest shit. I don't understand what it is. It is a picture of, what did I get? Centipede. It's like rotates around. It's on a monitor. I don't think it has any utility. The utility is not clear. The utility is like, oh, well, if you have 4 of these things and you can mint another one. I don't need another worthless thing like this. Like, it's like if you have they're trying to encourage you to buy more in order to get some access in Sandbox. And like, I didn't do enough research on it. I just aped into it and thought, certainly it's Atari. It'll be cool. I have some faith. I don't know if I'm going to hold it. Right now, it's down to like 0.03 or 0.04 floor. So immediately, 75% loss. So awesome choice by me. So again, moral of the story is maybe do a little bit more research and don't necessarily trust because it's a big brand that they're going to, fulfill or maybe, even they didn't really make such big promises, but they're going to actually do something that has utility. I think there'll be other brands that will jump into the space too. And like, hey, we're going to create this NFT and people will buy this thing because it's associated with this brand. But what is it actually worth? I don't know. This thing, as soon as it's revealed, it like immediately tanked. Yeah. I have other complaints about it too, but anyway, that's the story. So learn from my mistakes.
Yeah, no, I brought one brand that was Adidas, and so Adidas partnered with Bored Apes, and they printed 30,000 NFTs. They were all exactly.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
What's that?
I said that was a big deal when it came out.
Yeah,
that was like big news. Yeah.
Yeah. So I bought in, and of course I was not on the wait list, and so I paid top dollar. Excuse me. I think I ended up paying 1 ETH, like $3,300 on it. And then it was just hyped. I was like, I want this. It's rare. I want this. And then I got it. And then I had this moment of clarity. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't buy Adidas stuff. But now I have to, because I paid $3,300 for the right to buy a special Adidas drop. So now I have to buy Adidas. And then I'm like, wait a minute, this is one genius marketing by this brand to get a non-customer now forced to buy their property. Because why would I not cash in on this, access pass that I have? Thankfully, it went up to value to about $4,500, and I sold it about a week ago. So I made $1,200 just waiting in line for someone else to buy Adidas. But the only reason I sold, one, education, I wanted to learn about it. 2, I wanted something that was hot and cool, just like everyone. I'm human. And then 3, when I was like, I'm probably gonna have to spend another $1,500, $2,000. On Adidas, I don't want to own this NFT anymore.
Yeah. But I think that one of the things I've been wrestling with is some of the NFTs that I hold, like, what are they actually for? They're they're to support a play to earn game or something like that. I'm like, oh, I think this is an interesting project. But then I'm like, am I ever actually going to use it for what it's meant to be used for? And am I going to play all these play to earn games? And for me, the answer is no. So I've started to think, okay, which of these do I want to, get rid of? Maybe I've made a little bit of money or lost a little bit of money, but I'm trying to, I guess, call out some of the projects that I will not be actively involved in, just because I'd rather spend a bit more time in the projects that I really am passionate about, rather than just throw a bunch of, spaghetti at the cabinet. Is that the metaphor? And see what sticks.
Yeah.
I try to be a little bit more focused.
Yeah, because that's like, a lot of mine have this utility of stuff that you get access to some game or some metaverse that I'm not a part of. So then it's like, I've got a way how deep do I want to get into this community? Do I need to join this, start playing this game, which obviously I have no time to go learn a new game and play this game. But if I do, it would benefit my NFT, and my NFT would benefit this game and increase the value. And then I'm stuck with, okay, either I go all in, I hold it, let other people build around and pump up the value of my NFT, and then I sell it, or I just sell it now so it just doesn't take up my brain space. So I've been recently going through my collection and making those sort of decisions. And there's no right or wrong answer, but when you do get those communities, like there's ones I'm really into basketball, and they're building 5-on-5 basketball where with my apes, this was it called, New Basketball Ape League or something like that. And I don't even know the name of it. It's a complete ripoff of Bored Apes. It's NBA YC. But it's man, I just dream about the day watching my random NFT play basketball on a basketball court. It just seems really cool to me, right? And I've got 5 of them, so I can create my own team. And I'm going to be terrible at it, or I don't have enough time to dedicate to it. But
or they're going to reveal them and they're all going to look like Kevin.
Yeah, right. Well, you know what? I don't know this. Tell me about Kevin. Every one thing on my Twitter feed is referencing this joke Kevin NFT. I don't know what that is.
Can you pull it? You pull it up. Just search for Pixelmon Kevin.
Okay.
I wasn't following it too closely, but here's what I understand. So Pixelmon was a project, and
that's it.
And they made a big deal out of their reveal for sort of being able to play with their characters or avatars in the metaverse. And this is I don't know who named it Kevin. This is what they came out with. And the CEO since said we shouldn't have done that, whatever. But obviously they thought this was good enough to reveal. But yeah, there's that monkey. I don't know if
I've seen it. Okay, that's Kevin. That monkey.
Name, but that one is terrible. No. Kevin is the one on the left. Is the lizard thing. But it looks terrible.
Yeah.
And so as soon as it got revealed, people just immediately crapped on it and said, we're making fun of it. Pixelmon dropped. There was this big hype, and it was this is what you actually came up with. So the whole internet has been laughing about Kevin for a while. But what of course happened next? Kevin became this meme. So the floor price for Kevin's actually ended up going way up. I didn't follow the whole thing, but I think it went all the way up to maybe 6 ETH or something like that, just because all of a sudden, this was a thing. And look, I could be wrong. Maybe it's next gem, but I doubt it. I think people will, the meme factor will go away and eventually will come back down. But it was just very funny to see the reaction to this, and I think it's honestly somewhat of a precursor to what we're going to see a lot of this year, which are disappointing executions on ambitious projects. Everyone wants to create something in the metaverse. Everyone wants to create play to earn games. Everyone wants to create these avatars, and some of them are going to look good, and a lot of them will disappoint. And I think this is the first inkling of disappointment.
So big one. Yeah. So listening on the podcast, this is a Lego looking 3D very pixelated. I mean, it's called Pixelmon. That's the name of the project. Something you would see in an early Atari game. Terrible graphics.
Not even because it's so inconsistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, to be fair, it is I think it's built on top of the Minecraft engine or something like that. So it's meant to be pixelated like this, but it's not going to impress. So if you're listening, just honestly just Google Kevin. Sorry for all the people named Kevin out there.
Yeah, I think a dinosaur frog wearing a ripped shirt, almost like a Hulk outfit, with a pink floppy mohawk. Is that what that is?
I don't know, man.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that's interesting. So everyone made fun of it. It went to 0. And then of course it was so bad, it became cool, and everyone wanted this new meme, and then it drove the price up. I kind of like that story. That's very hilarious. Okay. So that's the fun. That's the fun NFT. That might not sound like fun for everyone, but you could have a stinker, and then it turns into a winner, and then it turns into a stinker again. You never know where you fall. And someone related this to Twitter that I read. They now I can't. They basically said NFTs gambling, but then they said Bitcoin it was all three different Vegas things. Like Bitcoin was blackjack, Ethereum was craps, but like NFT was roulette or something like that. Like it's really just a random luck of the spin. There's no skill, but I think there is skill.
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some luck, and there are a lot of unknowns as with any type of investing. But I guess it can be luck if you're literally just going out there and minting everything that comes along. But if you do as I say, not as I do, and do your own research, I think you can have an edge.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Roddy. Follow along at Roddy Knowles online. Appreciate you coming in. Also, check us out at the House of AC. Any parting words you want to say?
Hopefully I will be invited back with more excitement next time.
Yeah, well, most of the time you're welcomed. Today, very, very welcoming. I appreciate it. So
maybe we'll try not to scare people next time. We'll talk about something positive, but try to present both sides. So yeah, parting words are keep playing around the NFT space, play with money that you can afford to lose, and be careful and be vigilant.
Yeah, at Roddy Knowles on Twitter. Follow that. You're always posting. I learned half of what I know about NFTs by following your Twitter feed. So keep up the good work.
That's
there.
Scary. It's probably the half of the ones that haven't done well for you. But we'll keep that
yeah, right. Now, that's why sometimes you're welcomed and sometimes you're not.
Perfect.
Well, thanks, guys. Tuning into the House of AC. This has been another Friday crypto NFT episode. We are not financial advisors. Please take all this at your own, do your own research, and good luck. And keep us posted on what you're finding. We'd love to have you on the show. Welcome your feedback. You can watch these videos after the fact on YouTube, on the House of AC Facebook page, or you can listen to the podcast. Please like and subscribe. Leave your feedbacks and reviews. Ask your questions. We'll both answer them. And appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time.